Finally, after what has seemed like an eternal wait of 5 years and 6 months, Modinomics seems to be finally trusting private enterprise and competitive markets. On 20th of November, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced 3 initiatives. Privatization. I'll say it again. Privatization, not disinvestment. Privatization of BPCL, Concor and Shipping Corporation. The second one, moratorium on spectrum charges, and that sort of provided a very required cash flow relief to telecom companies which were beleaguered, and it actually could have saved India from the ignominy of a bankruptcy filing by at least one global titan. And the third one, supersession of the DHFL board, with an implied promise that the devastation that was caused when ILFS went bankrupt, that kind of devastation is going to be avoided. But wait, then what's this BABU-JAAL? BABU-JAAL. It's actually a dangerous acronym which is constructed as follows. The first B stands for BPCL. The second B means BSNL. JA stands for Jet Airways. L stands for leasing, the sort of common letter in ILFS and DHFL. Confused? You must be. Can't quite figure it out. Well, let me explain. It's been my perennial fear. Actually, it's a phobia. It's not a fear. It's a phobia. I'll admit that whenever any political leadership gathers the courage to launch pro-market policies, India's, this control freak bureaucracy, it just comes in and it trusses up that idea, it trusses up that policy in very impossible to navigate cobwebs, JAAL, cobwebs. And that sort of effectively kills the doctrine. Let me show you how these BABU-JAAL conspiracies could play out. Let's look first at BPCL. That could be forced to go the HPCL or GSPC way. The BPCL privatization is perhaps the most audacious market-friendly initiative by Prime Minister Modi in 5.5 years. But unfortunately, a few blind spots could be there which could swallow this whole effort. The NUMALIGARH refinery will have to be demerged out of BPCL and it will be sold to another public sector company, perhaps Oil India or Indian Oil. Now, inevitably, this exercise will take time since it shall involve a third-party valuation, and that will be followed by, there's a fairly complex corporate process by which you can extract an asset like NUMALIGARH refinery from BPCL's balance sheet. Now, if BPCL is not sold for about 70,000 crore rupees in this financial year, that's before the 31st of March 2020, the government could miss its disinvestment target of 1.05 lakh crore, and they could miss this by a mile, and that could cause an embarrassing fiscal slippage. So now you get how the BABU-JAAL will be spread. The establishment will say, let's do the tried and trusted trick. Let's do what we did with HPCL and GSPC, which were forced down ONGC's throat. Let's therefore shove BPCL also down IOC's gullet this time. We will, account for 70,000 crore in, what they call disinvestment, but actually it's a transfer from government to government. It's not a disinvestment, not a genuine disinvestment, but they'll call it disinvestment. The fiscal target will be met and BPCL will stay in public hands. Now, there you go again. How a terrific idea will be caught and choked in the BABU-JAAL, which is in the bureaucratic cobwebs. Please, Prime Minister Modi, please, Finance Minister Sitharaman, please do ensure that it is a genuine third-party privatization. Even if you have to defer the sale to next year, even if the fiscal deficit slips a bit, if anything, you should actually, perhaps nix the 70,000 crores that you've promised to infuse in the BSNL-MTNL merger. That's a comatose thing. That's a dead thing. You can nix that. And if you nix that, then you can neutralize this delay. Now let me show you one more way in which this BABU-JAAL will operate. Recall ILFS and Jet Airways? as you take on DHFL? I mean, I was thrilled when the Reserve Bank of India proactively superseded DHFL's board and they appoint a seasoned professional to take charge. Unfortunately, I'm sensing a BABU-JAAL, that's bureaucratic cobwebs, here too. The fear is that the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code will be invoked, and that will force lenders to take a write-down, and that in turn will gum up the credit markets yet again. And what's the worst? The worst thing possible is that DHFL could close shop, and that will be a bizarre action replay of what happened to ILFS and to Jet Airways. I would again like to beseech Prime Minister Modi and Finance Minister Sitharaman, please do whatever you need to. Provide whatever liquidity is required, but do ensure that DHFL remains a solvent going concern, that the asset is salvaged. Finally, the third thing where the BABU-JAAL could come in play, we turn to the cash flow relief to Vodafone and Airtel via the 2-year moratorium on spectrum charges. Now, it's a relatively tiny but very welcome concession. Although, once again, the BABU-JAAL is pretty starkly visible here too. There has been no attempt to correct the definition of adjusted gross revenue, which, in my humble opinion, and with very great deference to the Honorable Supreme Court, in my opinion, that definition is utterly flawed. Can you imagine? You pay spectrum charges on foreign exchange gains and losses. Foreign exchange gains and losses. I mean, as the dollar moves up and down against the rupee, the spectrum liability, the spectrum licensing liability, it also yo-yos with it. I mean, this is all wrong, arithmetically, economically, commercially. Can it get more specious or suspicious or even, frankly, surreal? So, in the end, I can only repeat what I said at the very beginning. These policy reforms are sensible, they are dramatic, they are strong, but you need to protect them against the BABU-JAAL, that's the bureaucratic cobwebs. और अगर यही विचार जो मैंने अभी आपके सामने रखे अंग्रेजी में आप हिंदी में सुनना चाहते हैं तो आप हमारी हिंदी क्विंट की यूट्यूब चैनल पे जाइए और यही वीडियो आपको हिंदी में भी मिलेगा. एंड ऑफ कोर्स you must not forget to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now.